Welcome to our 2023 College Career Indicator presentation from the Accountability, Development, and Policy Analysis Unit here at the California Department of Education. My name is Betty Mura, and I will be co-presenting with Catherine Morrissey. This session will cover a short top-level review of the dashboard and a more in-depth review of the College Career Indicator. For the 2023 dashboard, the California Department of Education is releasing a series of on-demand sessions, which will be short, accessible videos, which can be accessed anytime and will cover each of the state indicators in more detail, plus some other accountability information. So today's agenda includes an overview of the California School Dashboard, which we will refer to as the dashboard from here on out. Then we will cover all things College Career Indicator, or the CCI. Next, we'll review a few frequently asked questions, followed by the general rules about the dashboard that may be helpful for you to keep in mind. And finally, how to go about contacting us with any and all of your dashboard questions. Now I will pass it to Catherine, who will provide us an overview of the dashboard.
Thank you, Betty. First, we will start with an overview of the dashboard. The dashboard is an online tool designed to help communities across the state access important information about kindergarten through grade 12. The dashboard reports how districts and schools are performing on multiple state and local indicators that make up California's accountability system. A big question that may be on your mind is, what can I expect from the 2023 dashboard? 2022 was a big year of changes, and 2023 will be different, but most of it will be pretty familiar. The dashboard will still report local indicators and state indicators. The big change will be that state indicators return to color, except for the CCI, which will be explained in further detail later on. The dashboard displays performance on 6 state indicators. They are academic, which includes measures for both English language arts and literacy, or ELA, and mathematics, English learner progress, chronic absenteeism, graduation rate, suspension rate, and finally, the CCI. Now, earlier, I mentioned that colors return for most state indicators except for the CCI. So for these indicators, the measurement of performance for local educational agencies, or LEAs, schools, and student groups on the dashboard is done by looking at 2 years of data. Current year data equals status. A comparison between the current and prior year's data equals change. It is the combination of status and change that determines color performance on the dashboard. Performance is indicated on the dashboard by a gauge with 5 segments of different colors. Each level displays an arrow pointing to one of the 5 colors. The colors range from red, which represents the lowest performance, to orange, yellow, green, and then to blue, which represents the highest performance. However, for the CCI, only current year data will be reported on the 2023 dashboard because the California Department of Education was unable to report out the CCI in the 2022 dashboard due to unavailable statewide assessment results. Therefore, because there is no prior year data, no change is calculated, and performance levels or colors cannot be determined. So what will be displayed for the CCI on the 2023 dashboard? Well, because only the current year data or status is being reported for the CCI, you will be provided with what we call purple cell phone bar graphics. These cell phone bars are used to measure status performance levels. The cell phone bars depict each of the 5 status levels, which are very high, high, medium, low, and very low. Each graphic displays 5 gray bars, with an additional purple bar filled in as the status improves. The more cell phone bars filled in, the better the performance or result. Now I'll pass it back to Betty.
Thank you, Catherine. So in this section, we'll cover the basics of the CCI. So what is the CCI? The CCI measures how well districts and schools are preparing its graduates for college and career. It was designed to encourage high schools to provide all students with a rigorous and broad course of study that will lead to success after high school. The CCI tracks how schools and districts prepare students for college and career by looking at what students accomplish throughout their time in high school and recognizing that students pursue various options, whether completing a career technical education or CT pathway, course requirements for A through G, or a course of study specifically designed to meet the student's individual interests. Now, the CCI contains both college and career measures. The career measures that the State Board of Education has approved are pre-apprenticeships, state and federal job programs, which are specific to alternative schools, also known as Dashboard Alternative School Status, or DAS, transition classroom and work-based learning experiences, which are specific for students with disabilities who earn a special education certificate of completion, career technical education, or CTE pathway, and leadership military science. The college measures that the State Board has approved are the Smarter Balanced Summative Assessments, Advanced Placement or AP exams, the Met University of California, California State University requirements, which is also known as A through G, International Baccalaureate or IB exams, State Seal of Biliteracy, and finally, college credit courses. The CCI contains 3 levels of preparedness: prepared, approaching prepared, and not prepared. The State Board has approved specific criteria that allows students to be placed in one of these levels based on their accomplishments during their time in high school. For additional information on the prepared and approaching prepared criteria for all of the measures in the CCI, you can access the 2 CCI flyers that are identified in the associated note-taking guide. One rule to keep in mind is that to be prepared or approaching prepared, a student must be a graduate. Any student who is not a graduate is automatically placed in the not prepared level, regardless of what the student has completed during high school. Students in the CCI are the same students in the graduation rate indicator. Therefore, all LEAs, schools, and student groups that have students in the combined 4- and 5-year graduation rate receive a CCI on the dashboard. To calculate CCI status for the 2023 dashboard, a rate is determined using a numerator and denominator. The numerator is the total number of graduates in the class of 2023 who met the prepared criteria, plus the total number of 5th-year graduates from the class of 2022 who met the prepared criteria. This is divided by the total number of students in the 2022-23 combined 4- and 5-year graduation rate, which is the total number of students who entered grade 9 for the first time in 2019-20 for the class of 2023, plus the total number of students in the class of 2022 who graduated in 5 years and met the prepared criteria. All of this has been provided to you in the note-taking guide. Now, we mentioned that cell phone bars would be used for the CCI, and the results will be shown on the baseball cards on the 2023 dashboard. The card will display purple status bars with the status performance level explicitly written out underneath. In this example, for the college career indicator for all students, the status level is high, with 4 out of 5 bars filled in on the cell phone bar graphic. There is an option to compare the status of the LEA or school to the state student group results. In this example, the current year status is 55.3% prepared. Finally, the equity report at the bottom of the card shows the number of student groups in each of the status performance levels. There are 0 student groups in very low, 0 in low, 1 in medium, 2 in high, and 0 in very high. This top-level report can assist schools and LEAs to review any inequities that may be occurring within their student groups. At the very bottom of the card, There is a link to view more details, which takes you to specific student group information and trends and data over time as available. In order to determine performance for the CCI for 2023, the following status cut scores will be used for LEAs, schools, and student groups. If 70% or greater of the students were placed in the prepared level, then the status is very high. If 55% to 69.9% of students were prepared, then the status is high. If 35% to 54.9% of students were prepared, then the status is medium. If 10% to 34.9% of students were prepared, then the status is low. If 9.9% of students or less are prepared, then the status is very low. And now I will pass it back to Catherine.
Thanks, Betty. Did you know that you can verify the measures in your CCI before these data are extracted out for use in the dashboard? Specifically, LEAs can validate the CCI data that are submitted prior to the closing of the California Longitudinal Pupil Achievement Data System, CalPADS, certification window by reviewing CalPADS Report 3.19 and 3.20 for Career Technical Education, or CTE, pathway completers, CalPADS Reports 3.10 and 3.11 for College Credit and Leadership Military Science, and finally, Reports 15.1 and 15.2 for the following measures: MET, UC, or CSU requirements, or A through G completion, State Seal of Biliteracy, pre-apprenticeships, state or federal job programs, transition work-based experience or transition classroom-based work exploration. The note-taking guide contains a link to the 2022-23 handbook that details how you can access these CalPAD reports. Keep in mind that the remaining CCI measures are collected outside of CalPADS from test vendors. They are advanced placement exams collected from the College Board, IB exams collected from IB, the Smarter Balanced Summative Assessment collected from the test vendors ETS. Now that we've covered the basics of the CCI, let's cover some of the more frequently asked questions. These represent some of the most common questions we receive throughout the year, and we thought they would be helpful to review together. The first question is, how many years of data are used for the CCI? Up to 5 years of data are used. Therefore, if a student graduated in 4 years, then we use the last 4 years of data to identify what a student accomplished. If the student graduated in 5 years, then the last 5 years of data are used. The next question we get asked often is about Dashboard Alternative School Status, or DAS, schools, and whether the DAS one-year graduation rate is used to calculate the CCI. Due to the U.S. Department of Education's denial of the California's waiver to continue using modified methods for accountability, the DAS one-year graduation rate can no longer be used. Beginning last year with the 2022 dashboard, the combined 4 and 5 year graduation rate is now used for the graduation rate indicator, and therefore is also used as the denominator for the CCI for all schools, including DAS. The next question is whether the CCI status data will be used to determine differential assistance at the local educational agency, or LEA level, and comprehensive support and improvement, and additional targeted support and improvement at the school level. The answer is yes. The status performance level results from the 2023 dashboard will be used to determine support for both state and federal support. The final question focuses on the measures themselves and whether any new measures will be added to the CCI for the 2023 dashboard. At the September 2023 State Board of Education meeting, the State Board decided that no new measures would be added to the CCI for the 2023 dashboard. As we move forward, we will continue to analyze data being collected from LEAs on the new work-based learning measures with interest groups to present recommendations at future State Board meetings. So stay tuned. This concludes our specific review for the CCI. If you need additional help, we've provided some resources in the note-taking guide. such as the California Department of Education, or CDE's, CCI webpage. This webpage will take you from A to Z on everything you need to know about this state indicator. It has links to flyers, cut scores, and anything else you might need. On this page, you will also find a link to the 2023 technical guide, where there is a specific mini guide on the CCI. We have also included a school dashboard additional reports webpage where districts and schools can find information on the CCI that is more specific than what is found on the dashboard. For example, you can find the number and the percent of students who are included in each measure and under the prepared, approaching prepared, and not prepared levels. Now I'll pass it back to Betty to close the session out.
Thank you. So let's now walk through some general rules about the dashboard. First, we want to clarify a rule about charter schools that is unique to the dashboard. Because charter schools are treated as LEAs under the Local Control Funding Formula, or LCFF, their data are not included in their authoriser's dashboard report. This includes both direct and locally funded charters. Next, we want to review what the accountability N size thresholds are for the CCI and how they will be displayed on the 2023 dashboard. If the N size is 30 or more students in the denominator, then the CCI is reported on the dashboard along with the status data. There is an option to select the student group or compare it to the state student group results. In the card seen here for all students, the status performance level is high, with 4 of the 5 bars colored in purple. It also shows that 55.3% of the students were prepared and that the number of students, or N size, is 291. If any LEA, school, or student group has 30 or more students in the denominator, they will be held accountable for differentiated assistance at the LEA level and comprehensive support and improvement, or CSI, additional targeted support and improvement, or ATSI, at the school level. Next, we will review when the N size is between 11 to 29 students in the denominator. For the sample age and student group card provided, only status data are reported on the dashboard. There is an option to select the student group or compare it to the state student group results. This card displays that 60% of the students were prepared. The number of students, or N size, is 25. And because this is between 11 to 29 students, the card displays a no performance color with grayed out cell phone bars. For any reporting of 11 to 29 students in the denominator, the LEA, school, or student group is not held accountable for differentiated assistance at the LEA level and CSI and ATSI at the school level. Finally, if the N size is less than 11 students in the denominator, then no data is reported on the dashboard to protect students' privacy. There is an option to select the student group or compare it to the state student group results. Now, as you can find in this card for the 2 or more races student group, because there are only 2 students, the card displays a no performance level with grayed out cell phone bars and no CCI prepared data. Additionally, any LEA, school, or student group with less than 11 students in the denominator is not held accountable for differentiated assistance at the LEA level and CSI, ATSI at the school level. There are, however, N size threshold exceptions to the rules. They apply to the foster youth and homeless student groups as their N size thresholds are different at the LEA and school level. At the district or LEA level, there must be 15 or more students in the denominator to be reported on the dashboard and held accountable. At the school level, there must be 30 or more students in the denominator to be reported on the dashboard and held accountable. For this exception, charter schools are treated as schools, not LEAs. Therefore, charter schools will need 30 or more students in the denominator for the foster youth and homeless student groups to be held accountable. And finally, the District of Special Education Accountability, or DSEA. The DSEA rule is applied to all available state indicators for students with disabilities who receive special education services at another district our County Office of Education. These students are sent back to the District of Residence, or DSEA, and are included in the DSEA's dashboard. For example, the district where the student geographically resides is held accountable for the student's CCI outcomes, and that data is included in the District of Residence's CCI. Please note that this rule applies to LEAs only. All schools, including charter schools, are held accountable for all students with disabilities. This rule has been applied since 2017 for the academic indicators, and the 2020 reporting of the graduation rate and CCI data on the CDE School Dashboard Additional Reports website. It was applied for all indicators starting on the 2022 dashboard and will continue for the 2023 dashboard and beyond. For more information, refer to the District of Special Education Accountability Rule for Students with Disabilities flyer on the Dashboard Communications Toolkit webpage. If you are interested in contacting us regarding any of the information we covered about the California School Dashboard, we are just an email away. Our email address is dashboard@cde.ca.gov. We also invite you to follow us on X, formerly Twitter, at CDE Dashboard. And that concludes this on-demand session for the California School Dashboard. Thank you so much for tuning in.